boy, do we have a spicy battle report summary today against the one and only World Eaters against the Starshatter Arsenal. So, if you were wondering how these two match up against each other, you're going to want to stick around because we're essentially condensing this 3-hour game into roughly 20 minutes. I'm going to give you all the juicy stuff that happened, what I learned, what worked, what didn't work, what mistakes I made, all that good stuff, and just passing it on to you because I truly believe if one of us gets better, we all get better. So, without further ado, let's get into it. I know a lot of you have been requesting more melee matchups, how to handle it against Starshatter, and this is this is going to be a very good one for y'all to watch. So, if you want to skip ahead, you can, but I'm telling you, I'm going to leave you little Easter eggs throughout. So, we are playing Burden of Trust today. Tipping point, all right, and hidden supplies is the mission. So you're seeing how we have an extra objective here, split, and yeah. So we got World Eaters. Let's go into the list here. So as you can see here, this is one of my most recent Starshatter lists, and I'm gonna say it's feeling real good. Okay. It's feeling real good. All right. It is a total of 18 units. All right. And as you can see on the World Eater side, he only has 11. And I'm going to explain why that is very valuable in Warhammer and a very maybe important question to ask at the beginning of the game. And I'm going to explain why here in a second. So pause here if you want to see the list in more detail. Let's get into the report. All right. So 8875 to Starshatter Arsenal, and that is with also me going first, which in some cases I do feel helps on this mission because I get an extra turn to guard. And World Eater is definitely like going first in terms of staging, but there is also value in bottom of turn scoring. So I don't know, it's a give and take, but so. A couple things going into this matchup before we move any pieces. I want to get better about explaining kind of my thought process beforehand to give you guys some better value of what's going through my head before this matchup even starts. So, a couple big things against World Eaters, Blood Angels, any sort of melee aggro-list, orcs as well. All of these armies are going to be big problems for Starshatter. It's no joke. It is what is keeping it at bay in GTs. And I think we're going to see that in Nottingham this weekend and LVO. It is a big problem for Starshatter to overcome, but I think genuinely there are ways to do it. So we are running 2 units of 5 flayed ones. The more that I've been testing this, I think it is a very good option. Just because it gives you the flexibility. For instance, against World Eaters, you're going to be able to deny their scout moves for Invocatus, Votan, Tyranids, Orcs. All of these armies like to get some sort of scouting board presence early. And you could say like, well, yeah, but if you go second, then you just lose your flayed ones. And it's like, yeah, I mean, that's possible. But they're 60 points, and if they need to go after him and kill him, then that's the trade you take. There's a lot of value in denying the scout moves, and let's say, for instance, you're playing its army that doesn't have any scout moves, then you can put the flayed ones in a juicy spot like right here, and it forces them to commit resources to try to kill them. And then at that point, they're in a spot where you can essentially just shoot at them, and they're usually trading down because flayed ones, again, they're only 60 points. Okay, so let's get into the game here. We are going first, and the biggest thing that I'm thinking about is, one, I outnumber them in units, so I'm more or less going to win the trade game. And the biggest thing is I just want to feed him as much trash as I can in the first early rounds. Keep him at bay on primary, and wait for the late game for my Doomsday Arcs and Silent King to connect and hopefully win me. So we are going to get first turn, and we get the biggest dud on secondaries of all time. We get Call the Horde, Mark for Death, can't do Call the Horde, get Overwhelming Force. And I'm like, at this point, based on my experience, if you are going first and you're getting basically a 0 on secondary, you need to cycle something to try to get some points. I feel like it's really hard to overcome a potential point deficit if you're just getting a flat 0, especially if you're going first. So we do cycle overwhelming force, and we get engaged in all fronts. So it is something that at least I can score first turn with the flayed ones. And so we're going to do exactly that and stage up. Okay. So let's do that here. So you're going to see that essentially play out here. So the flayed ones are just going to move up here. Just to limit like where he can move. We're just trying to just slow him down a little bit that first turn. You could have made like an argument. I could have maybe moved the flayed ones like potentially over here. But he does have like enough pistol shots where he could just like clear them anyway. So I think this was more or less probably the best shot or best place to put them. And then we're staging up the flayed ones 1 inch away from the wall. We put the stalker right here, and unfortunately the king whiffs his advance roll and rolls a 1, so he doesn't even get on the point. So that was kind of hilarious. And then everything else is staged up. Okay, so 1 inch away from the wall here, 1 inch away from the wall here, and here. And that's essentially the board state turn 1. So I will say I lucked out a little bit because the first 2 turns he did not get advance in charge on his blessing roll, which I think definitely helped a little bit here. And the biggest thing that we're essentially creating is you are creating a wall right here of like just trash. If he wants to go after it, he can, but he's going to lose those assets to the king next turn. Same thing over here. There's no way for him to interact with these pieces. We're just staying out of these threat ranges. Okay. So be very courteous with your opponent in terms of like, hey, what is your threat range for these units? Turn 1 without advance in charge. Every good competitive player will just give you that number, and they know your intent to just try to stay out of those threat ranges. Okay, it's pretty standard stuff. All right, so we're gonna get a 2 on primary, and we're gonna pass it over to him because I want to get through a couple of these turns here and get to the juicy stuff. So he's gonna get containment and extend battle lines first turn. Just a great pull in some ways, and also not a great pull. Okay, because he did have to bring out 2 units on the edges for me to essentially interact with next turn. So he's going to be losing resources a little bit quicker than maybe he would have wanted to. But he's going to shift up these resources here, clean up the flayed ones. Spawn are going to go here. Spawn are going to go here. Contain. And you're going to see that play out. And that is pretty much his turn. Okay, so he's also going to bring this unit of spawn out. Or sorry, these are the, I think he switched these around. These are Exalted 8-bound that are containing. Then the spawn are going here. He's going to charge Invocatus here, spawn here to deny the primary first turn. So I'll only score on this one, and which was good. So you're going to see that play out. We spend a CP for -1 damage on the stalker to show you the power here, even with spawn and Invocatus. Like they just, I mean, I did roll fairly well on the saves, but stalker survives and passes it over to me. So turn 2, we are going to get a 4 on primary. You do see 6 up there. It's weird with Burden of Trust because you guard in my turn, and then it scores at the end of your opponent's turn in that same battle round. So I got 1 guard for this turn as well, which you'll see. Okay. So basically this turn, what we're trying to do is we are trying to pick up as many of the little things as possible, right? Because we know we're going to win the trade game, and I need to force him to bring out play the game with his big pieces sooner rather than later, so I can get the max value out of my units, right? So we're going to kill this spawn. We're going to kill the spawn. We're going to kill these units right here, and picking up essentially 3 units on the first turn brings him down to 8 units total, is going to put us in a really good spot here. And then we're going to try to indirect the Exalted 8-bound. So potentially being able to pick up 4 units on round 2 would be extremely helpful. So you are going to see us. We are going to get Storm Hostile Objective and recover assets. So pretty straightforward. We're going to Storm Hostile here. We're going to recover assets with one of these pieces that are around the king right here. That's the one nice thing with the king castle build, is you have a lot of these little pieces that are protected by the king in the midboard to make it a lot easier to do actions, and a lot of times your opponent cannot interact with it. And then we're going to recover with like Imhotep back here. Okay, so let's fast forward here. This is top of turn 2, and you're more or less going to see this play out here. So the Stalker falls back. Flayed Ones move over here to get 1 OC to storm hostile objective. We're going to shoot a Doomsday Arc here to clean up these resources. We're going to indirect the Exalted 8-bound. The unit of 2 heavy destroyers are going to shoot at the Chaos spawn, and we actually pick them up on the nose. And that is essentially going to be the board state going into turn bottom of 2. I would have loved to pick up the Berserks, but we picked up the spawn instead. And he does spend 1 CP to sticky the objective. The 2 biggest things you need to, I think, the 2 biggest strats you need to be aware of with World Leaders is 1 CP to sticky the objective. The second CP is any Berserkers have a Blood Surge ability, which you're going to see that I totally mess this up. That's why we play practice games, and it is a monumental mistake and somehow pull out a W still. But just remember, Berserkers, you need to shoot at them something like to make sure you kill them in one activation. Otherwise, they're going to Blood Surge, and it's going to cause all sorts of problems. Okay, so let's fast forward here. You're going to see all of those assets get picked up outside of just 1 Exalted 8-bound. So solid turn for the Crons. I feel like I have a sneeze coming here. Oof. Okay, it's coming. Oh, God, it's one of those things where you're like thinking about it and then it doesn't happen. Oh, okay, I think it's gone. It'll probably come back. All right. Turn 2. He's going to get 8 on primary because he holds this objective and he stickies this one with this marker here, as you can see. And then Joel's going to get Sabotage and Storm Hostile. So he's going to come back over here, storm one of these objectives, and then he is going to Sabotage with an area right here in the corner. It's kind of dumb, but there's a 1-inch little pocket on this tipping point layout that you can just move a unit into and sabotage. It is what it is, and call it a day. Okay, so moving up here, he's going to move these Berserkers up here. He's going to take over this point because they're 2 OC each, and Joel was a smart player, and he moved this Exalted 8-bound first to interact with this objective here. And so he forces me to use the Hexmark Overwatch. And remember, if you use the free Hexmark Overwatch first, you are not allowed to spend a CP to Overwatch with another unit. So sequencing on his part was very good. So he prevents me from being able to use this unit first to Overwatch. So let me explain that a little more clearly here. So essentially, he moves that Exalted 8-bound first. Hexmark has to spend the free Overwatch. Amidix now cannot Overwatch because I already used the free one here. Okay, so make sure you are playing that correctly. So that was a very smart move on his part because I would have loved, loved to shoot at these guys right here. So, so that was a turn there. You're going to see him stage everything up. And this is what I'm talking about with the Ingress play, okay? So this is what I highlighted yesterday, all right? So here is our Ophidian proxy, the race right now, because I'm building them and painting them for the tournament later this month. This is the power of Ophidians, folks, all right? So coming in from Rapid Ingress, we have Exalted 8-bound right here that are staged up, ready to do a charge on the Flayed Ones and the Stalker. Now, what's going to happen is the best part about Ophidians, they're 2 OC each. We're gonna deep strike in, stay on the point. Okay. He's gonna charge in, and then we're still gonna keep the Ophidians on the objective, and it forces him to spread out. So now he can't go at the Stalker, and the Stalker is no slouch on OC. I mean, it's OC4, which is great. So we end up holding the point here because of that Ophidian Rapid Ingress and Heroic Intervene, which was huge. So we save the guard, and we save the primary points for my turn, which was huge, okay? So, and the Ophidians, do decent amount of damage in combat. He charges the Exalted in here. He cleans up that unit, and that's pretty much the turn, all right? So going into top of 3, okay? So we are going to get a 10 on primary, and then we are going to get Cleanse and Extend Battle Lines. This is another juicy thing that happened with the Ophidians, just showing you the power of keeping potentially both of those units in reserve and using them to their ultimate effectiveness. So he has this objective sticky. this unit had to come off the point to kill this unit. They can't consolidate. He didn't want to consolidate back on, or maybe I can't remember if he was outside of 3 inches to actually consolidate back on. But either way, there was a pocket right here, 9 inches, which you're going to see, where I can drop the Ophidians in, as you can see here, to not only take the primary away, but also get cleanse at the same time. Okay. Super strong. Super, super strong. So you can exploit World Legions a little bit because they don't have any strong Overwatch threats. So trying to use that to your advantage, right? So more or less for this turn, we are just looking. We're just going to kill what we can kill. So we're going to kill this unit. We're going to kill this unit. We're going to kill this unit. And we're going to draw a cheeky line right here at these Berserks with the Doomsday Arc. And you're going to see the second biggest mistake of the game, where I accidentally fire. What did I fire? I think I fired like just some chip damage from a Doomsday Arc at these Berserkers. I wasn't even thinking. I already know these guys blood surged. Like, that's on me for making a mental error like that, and it allowed him to blood surge into the Heavy Destroyer when all I needed to do was just shoot them with the King, and you just prevent that entire problem from happening altogether. So that was a massive, massive mistake on my part. Just wanted to point that out. Just kind of just brain fog there. So you're going to see they're going to blood surge in. So then, unfortunately, what it forced me to do is now I had to bring these Scorpex out to charge here to clean up this unit, because otherwise the problem is that this unit is keeping this unit at bay. They're keeping them in check. So we put this Locust Destroyer here, so if they need to move, with their advance move, it makes it awkward placement as far as landing, and they don't fly. So you essentially move block this whole area here, and but now since these Scorpex have to come out, now this is completely open. And that was my only option. So now these guys can just go right through this wall and go connect with everything over here, unfortunately. Okay. So that was a huge mistake, but I think, we're still in a good spot board-wise. We have a lot of units left, and I think that was the biggest thing I want to highlight, and why I've really been liking this list. I mean, 18 units, man. It has some big advantages. So he only has literally like 5 units left going into bottom of 3. He's losing stuff quick and doesn't have a lot left to play the game with. And we're going to bottom of 3. He's going to get cleanse. He's going to get a 12 on primary, which was strong, but he's going to get cleanse and no prisoners. So he is definitely going to pick up some of this stuff here. So we're going to fast forward here and see how this plays out. So he's going to shift up here. And then this was another, I think, big mistake. I think one of his bigger errors that he made. He brought out this unit of 6 Exalted 8-bound, and he wanted to basically tag all 3 of these units, okay? And so he spread out too much where he wasn't able to do enough damage to anything. And it allowed the Reanimator to spend a CP to Heroic Intervene to get an extra 3 OC on the objective. So we have 2 OC here, 3, and then 4 for the Stalker. And that was a big breaking point, and we spend 1 CP to give -1 to wound on the Reanimator. So he ends up only doing like 1 wound to the Reanimator, and then he doesn't have enough tax into the Stalker because you're just fishing for 4 up invulns at that point. He rolled pretty well, and basically everything ended up surviving. When if he had just gone, really just tried to focus on just 1 target and then just stacking the OC on the objective, I think it would have been, that might have actually swung the game into his favor, to be honest. I lucked out here. They rolled a 4-inch on their charge. They failed. He re-rolled it and only got a 5. So it limited where he could also base. He kills Imhotep. We line the flayed ones up intentionally because, again, he can only activate into so many units. So he kills Imhotep, but you still have 7 OC on the point, so you're still going to hold your home for guard. And then he whiffs killing the Scorpex, so the Scorpex actually got to hit back. and did a decent amount of damage there, which was great. So you're going to see that. They pick up 2, so it forced him to lose there. And then Angron's going to go here and clean up that resource. So going into my turn 4 was super strong because we're going to hold 3 points and then get, or like 2 points and I think 3 guards. So we got 14 on primary. And then we get area denial and sabotage, which was super easy. We just advance up this Locust Destroyer, get on the point. The reason for this is because he could potentially still Blood Surge and get in. We're going to indirect him, though, with the Silent King. So basically the goal really this turn is just to kill this unit, kill this, and then he just has Jackals left to play the game. So the Ophidians are going to fall back here, harass this objective. Arcs are going to fire here. King's going to fire indirect, and then basically call it a turn here. Okay, so we're going to fast forward here. You're going to see that play out, and you're going to see the power of Ophidians here again. I mean, just the movement. Like an 80-point unit just threatening the Jackals next turn for primary denial. And then this Locust Destroyer cleans up here, so we deny the primary because it's OC2, get the area denial, kill the last Zerker, and then pass it over to him. So he's going to get an 8 on primary still because he gets 4 points for this one, and he still had 2 guards. And then he is going to get area denial and bring it down, which he can't do area denial. He gets bring it down. So he's going to go over here and kill the Reanimator. See that play out. And then Angron's going to come over here, clean up that unit, and then call it a turn. So then going into turn 5, we are going to get a 12 on primary. We get Containment, Assassination, Cycle Assassination, get Established Locus, and that is the game. So we move the Ophidians over here on my last turn to do Established Locus for 4 points, and then we contain here and contain the Tomb Blades over here, or right here, and then that's pretty much it. So the end of the game, he gets 8 on primary, and then he gets Defend Strongholds, and then finishes the game at 88-75 to the Kron. So crazy game. I think the biggest things, again, that I want to highlight here that we touched on in the Rapid Ingress video is just showing you the power of some of these moves and with the Ophidians. Like, this was huge here. This unit dropping in here, saving me 4 points on primary. And then this unit dropping in here was another 4 points plus a cleanse, so we're at like 10 points. And then the Ophidians then going over here and then getting the Locust for 4 points. Like they're extremely good. They definitely help solve the gap with Starshatter in terms of the secondary problem. Having those, having those 2 units really fill the gap in secondary. I think, again, Starshatter is strong. I think the King Wraith build is interesting. I think the problem is once there's a data slate and the points go up, that build, I think, is just going to be pointed out of even functioning because you don't have a lot of units. And I feel like in those, I think the Wraith King build is strong. But I think into the Orc Tyranid and some of those bad matchups, like lists built around more units and screening pieces, I think is going to give you a better chance to win those games. And I think the King is mandatory right now just because of the mirror matchup. Necrons being as popular as they are, and most are going to have Silent King builds. So if your opponent has the Silent King and you don't, I feel like it's going to be a pretty rough time. But other than that, yeah, if you stuck around this long, appreciate you. Hopefully this was a good battle report to see, and I'm going to go ahead and link 2 videos up top, and we'll catch you all in the next one.